Okay, welcome everyone to the seventh in a series of workshops that's really getting researchers together as developers and now more towards implementation of intelligent building features and systems with the goal typically here of understanding, kind of where we're at in terms of development, deployment, and what are the gaps, right, that we need to address. My name is Jim Braun. I've been involved in this series for quite a while. I direct the Center for High Performance Buildings at Purdue. Gregor, actually Henze, who's online, and I'll ask maybe to say a few words in a moment. It really launched this in 2011 at Concordia University. It was the very first workshop. It was really well attended. There was a lot of interest. It was done in combination with an ASHRAE meeting in Montreal. We got excited about it, and we decided we were going to try to do it every 2 years. We did it so the first one was in 2011. We did it in 2013 at the University of Colorado. We did it in 2015 in Europe. And then, we had this idea of bringing it to Purdue and combining it with the Purdue conferences. And so we did that in 2016 and 2018, and we had very good participation and interest and a lot of good discussion. And so on a hike in Colorado, we hatched this idea of trying to do it every year because we had a strong enough interest and enough things going on. And so we had the idea of alternating it between Colorado and Purdue, with Colorado focused more on the theoretical aspects of intelligent operations and the Purdue side more on the applications. So we did one in 2019 in Colorado. It was quite successful, and then had planned to do it in 2020, in the summer of 2020, but then COVID hit. And so it really kind of put all of this on hold for a while. We took a hiatus and then really are trying to bring it back. So last fall was 2023 in Boulder, and then this is going to be back alternating between Purdue and Colorado. But it's going to be Kevin Kircher who's going to take this over. We'll introduce in a moment, working with Gregor going forward. But hopefully we can build this back up and have something that continues on for the future. I guess I'd like to give Gregor, if we can get him online, if he has anything that he'd like to add as a welcome here and any history he'd like to relate. Gregor, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Well, I'm saddened that I cannot be with you in person today. I'm at the very last day of visiting my daughter at Oxford University. And so rather than leaving early here, I decided to stay with her and have the time online with you. I'm extremely excited about the day today. I think this idea of around the world in 8 hours, clear reference to Jules Verne, excited us three for a while, and we're so pleased to have such a wonderful turnout of speakers and such broad perspective on this topic. As Jim said last year in Boulder, we focused on
Gregor, you froze. I don't know if you can hear us. Probably not. Okay.
it really is
Gregor, can you hear us? Well, I think we'll hopefully he can improve his connection. But at this point, I'd like to introduce Kevin Kircher, assistant professor at Purdue University, doing work in the area of model predictive controls and in buildings. And Kevin is going to be the future of the IBO along with Gregor going forward. And he can tell you about the plans for the day and what we hope to accomplish.
All right. Thank you, Jim, and it's a real pleasure to be here. I see a lot of familiar faces, but also some new faces, so I'm excited to get to meet you guys throughout the kind of coffee breaks and lunches and the conference to come. I'm just going to build a little bit on what it sounded like Gregor was starting to say, which is a little bit about last year's IBO workshop. So the theme last year was bridging the abyss from algorithms to applications, and that theme really grew out of, I guess, a sense of disillusionment, you could say, among the organizers, Jim, Gregor, and myself. I've been working on this for a little over a decade, but collectively, including Jim and Gregor, we have almost a century of experience working on this stuff. And of course, many other researchers around the world for decades have been working on IBO technologies, things like smart controls for HVAC, for lighting systems, fault detection and diagnostics, dashboarding, occupant interactions, all these kind of technologies that involve data and decision making in buildings. But despite all that long history of research, we really feel like we haven't seen adoption by companies in the real world kind of at the speed and scale that we feel is necessary to deal with the urgency and the challenge of the climate crisis. So we organized the workshop around 4 questions last year, which they were, what are the current business offerings by companies today? What is the state of the art that we're seeing in field demonstrations in things like federal laboratories and academic research labs? What are the barriers to adoption, right? The real hurdles from getting from here to there. And then we ended up with a roundtable discussion that was around really what should the research community be doing? What are the future directions that we should be moving in? And so we, the 3 of us, wrote a viewpoint paper that's currently under review, but it summarizes basically the lessons learned that at least we took away from that workshop. So it's not out yet, but when it is, we'll be happy to share it with all of you in case you missed the workshop last year. But I think this year's theme around the world of IBO in 8 hours, international perspectives on productization, is a nice kind of spiritual successor to last year's. We ended up with these kind of, what should the direction be? And one of the takeaways there, one of many, was that really the time for doing kind of proof of concept simulation research is more or less done, and we need to move on to sort of the practical challenges involved in getting these technologies out into the real world. So we will hear lots of presentations from invited experts who are doing real world demonstrations all over the real world. And so we'll have a session on North America that will start in just a minute here, a session from European perspectives, Asia as well, and we'll wrap up with a session from Australia in the afternoon, which is the very, very early morning for them. So our Australian panelists have been very gracious in agreeing to present. We don't have representation from Africa or Latin America this year, but we hope to meet folks who are working on IBO technologies in those regions in the future. We also have a paper session. So this is the 1 o'clock session, and this will feature 6 presentations from papers that were submitted to the Buildings Conference, which of course runs from Monday through Wednesday of this week. And those papers feature work by students and also researchers at labs and so forth on real-world deployments of IBO technologies. So I'm very excited for that session. We'll wrap up with some optional tours of the facilities of the Center for High Performance Buildings, which is kind of our laboratory over in Herrick Laboratories, the building. And then we'll reconvene around 6:30 for dinner at Ripple and Company tonight. And so that dinner is supported in part by Lennox, the sponsor for the workshop. So when you're enjoying some tasty brisket and a couple of free cocktails, I hope you think of Lennox.